All right, hello to everybody. My name is Jonah Rosenblum, joined by Kevin Trahan inside Northwestern. Oh, looks like the collar's a little messed up. Anyway, we got a big win here from Michigan, 38-31 in overtime. Another heartbreaker for the Wildcats. They were leading by a field goal with just seconds to go. They punted. It's like 25 seconds to go, and Michigan gets that miraculous play downfield. Roy Roundtree, a huge grab, and from there on out, the momentum really belonged to the Wolverines. Kevin, initial thoughts after that game?
Well, I know a lot of Northwestern fans are going to say that it's unlucky and it doesn't always happen to Northwestern, but I think for you to be lucky, you also have to have good coverage, and if Northwestern has better coverage there, then they wouldn't feel so unlucky. And, I mean, the coverage was bad all game, and Daniel Jones, had a bad jump there, which wasn't surprising considering what happened earlier in the game, and that's just the way it goes. So.
Yeah, it seemed to me like the defense really just kind of wore down, and, I think the breakdown started really in the third quarter and fourth quarters when I thought Fitzgerald Toussaint really started to get some momentum on his rushes. It seemed like the defense was getting tired. Obviously, Demetrius Dugard had a really rough game, pick aside. I know you look at the stats, and you look at the interception and say, oh, clutch game from Demetrius, but he ran by the tackler way too many times, way too many missed plays. And, that's why they lost this game. And obviously you can pinpoint the plays at the end. It was a great grab by Roundtree. The defender, he got a tip on it, and Roundtree was just alert and looking up. So you can pinpoint that play, but there are just so many plays that led to that situation,
Fitz likes to say that stats are for losers, which in this case he would probably point at the stats and say, look, Dugard had that nice interception. But, there are a lot of things that don't show up in the stat sheet. A lot of times Dugard would give the receiver like a 15-yard cushion, and because if he didn't do that, then he'd get burned deep. So there were a lot of breakdowns in the secondary leading up to that. They really, really missed Nick Van Hoos. So if they had Nick Van Hoos, they would probably win this game. If they had Quinn Evans in there more, he had a nice pass breakup in the first series, and they ended up taking him out. He was banged up a little bit. So if they had him in there more, maybe they could have won. It was a lot like last year in that, every part of the team is better than last year, I think, except for the secondary today. This is probably their worst performance of the season, and they picked a bad game for it to be their worst performance of the season.
Now, on the offensive side of the ball, I guess let's talk a little bit. Now, I thought, obviously, all season we've been kind of skeptical of why Trevor Siemian's in these games. And today, we had our foot in our mouth a little bit because Trevor Siemian did on that last drive of the first half. He looked very precise, much more precise than he's looked in previous games. Even to that touchdown pass, right to the back shoulder. What do you think of the dual quarterback system today?
Well, I still think Holder's a better player. I think they need to let him throw more, and I think they did in the second half. They let him throw more, and that opened up the run game more, and the option was really effective. But when Siemian went in, he did a great job. It was by far, I think, his best performance of the season, considering against Syracuse he only had one of those drives. And against Northwestern, against Michigan today, he had two of those big drives. He definitely played very, very well. The consistency hasn't been there. I don't think we can point to one drive and say, well, if Siemian had played the whole game, they would have won by 50. That's not how it works. But no, he played well when his number was called today, and it's interesting. This is probably the best the two-quarterback system has looked, and against a very, very good Michigan defense, they put up 31 points in regulation. That's very impressive. The defense had played well.
And I think just if you look at it hypothetically, the big what-if that's going to kind of come to me after the game is obviously some big injuries for Northwestern. And Pat Fitzgerald refused to admit, because obviously Kane Coulter went for that big third down play, that third and short play in overtime, and he wasn't able to get it. Now, Pat Fitzgerald said that Kane was fine, he was ready to play, but perhaps the bigger injury was Venrick Mark. And obviously on that fourth down carry, you'd much rather have Venrick with the ball as opposed to Tyrus Jones. If you're, obviously, Northwestern made its own luck. They put themselves in that position. That is a tough play. Venrick Mark is a lot much more lethal weapon than Tyrus Jones.
Yeah, definitely. I think the play call. I didn't know if three straight run plays up the middle was the best idea there, especially with the Northwestern's best running laterally. At the beginning, that didn't work very well, but it worked throughout the entire second half. They ran well laterally against the Michigan defense. Didn't really love those play calls, but I think that definitely plays a factor. Neither of those guys 100%. Pat Fitzgerald even said. I think you asked him, was he 100%? He's like, well, nobody's 100% in Big Ten play, which is key for no, he was not 100%. He was not ready. So yeah, that definitely played a factor, but it shouldn't even gotten to that point. But that definitely hurt them down the stretch. Michigan had a momentum.
And let's talk about going forward. Obviously, Northwestern. This is a chance for a signature win. This is a chance to really insert themselves into the Big Ten championship picture. 3 tough losses, 3 clutch losses, 3 games where they were really in it and had a chance to beat a premier opponent and really establish their name. Now, I guess obviously this team has some games they can win, Michigan State, Illinois, but just where do you think the momentum's at on this team, and what do you think of the players' reactions after the game? How did they seem to be taking it?
Well, as Damian Proby said, it sucks. He was pretty blunt about it. And they definitely can win those games. I think that Michigan now is pretty clear they're heading to the Capital One Bowl. I thought after this, the winner of this game is going to the Capital One Bowl, and now I think that the winner of the Michigan State game will go to the Gator Bowl, and the loser will end up going to the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. But yeah, looking ahead, they're both teams they can beat, and it actually is a pretty good matchup for Northwestern, I think, because they can score on anyone. They can score on that Michigan State defense, not tons, not as much as they did today, but they can score on them, whereas Michigan State can't score on anyone. So I think that is a good matchup for Northwestern. Looking forward, 93 is still a good year, but you're right, it could have been so much more. You look at, obviously that's the biggest play that'll stand out this year, and that'll define the season. But even Nebraska, if Ibrahim Campbell had, just hauled in that pick six, Northwestern would have been in the driver's seat for the division heading into this game.
And then I just think one final note, I think a lot of fans are going to be tempted to look kind of at what Northwestern did wrong and just a couple of big plays that went against them. But give credit to Michigan, in particular give credit to Devin Gardner, who I thought, now that's an issue I think that the Wildcats need to look into, why the quarterback is continually able to escape the contain on third down. I mean, Devin Gardner must have converted 7 third downs alone just by running up the middle. That being said, Gardner is a quick kid, he's athletic, and he is fast, and he made some big plays today, including that touchdown in the overtime period. So Michigan earned their win. The Wolverines win 38-31. And from Ann Arbor, we'll sign off. Kevin Trahan, Joan Rosenblum, thanks for joining us.